Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. The author, he says, أشهر المصنفات في علم المصطلح المحدث الفاصل بين الراوي والواعي. صنفه القاضي أبو محمد الحسن بن عبد الرحمن بن خلاد الرامهرمزي المتوفى سنة 360 للهجرة، لكنه لم يستوعب أبحاث المصطلح كلها، وهذا شأن من يفتتح التصنيف في أي فن أو علم غالبا. The author says the most famous and the most popular books that were written on the science of Al-Mustalah. The science of Al-Mustalah. We mentioned in our last session the history behind the foundation of the sciences of Hadith and some of the people who were considered to be trailblazers and pioneers in this science, and how the basic building blocks and cornerstones are found in the Kitab, in the Sunnah, and then later on in what the companions said and understood and did, and how they dealt with the narrations of the Prophet, first and foremost, the rulings in Islam and the narrations of the other companions, the Khulafa, etc. And we also mentioned the first of these books according to the author, and that was the book that was written by Al-Qadi, the judge of Muhammad al-Hasan ibn Abd al-Rahman ibn Khalad al-Ramahurmazi, who was from a region or the place which is broadly known as Persia, in that area. And the author says that he died in the year 360. And the name of his book was called Al-Muhaddith al-Fasil Bayn al-Rawi wal-Wa'i. We explained that in the last class. Number 2, the author says Ma'rifatu ulum al-Hadith صنفه أبو عبد الله محمد بن عبد الله الحاكم al-Naysaburi المتوفى سنة 500 لكنه لم يهذب الأبحاث ولم يرتبها الترتيب الفني المناسب. The second most popular or famous book is a book that was written by Abu Abdullah, he says Abu Abdullah, that was his kunya, Muhammad ibn Abdullah, who's famously or well known as Al-Hakim. His name, the famous nickname or title that he's referred to as, is Al-Hakim. And he was from the country of Al-Naysaburi, which is Nishapur, in the Near East, where Imam Muslim rahimahullah was from. And he died in the year 405. The author says he wrote this book, however, he didn't refine the chapters and the things that he spoke on in his book. He didn't finely tune them in detail, nor did he put them in the exact, precise arrangement. This is what the author says. What he's doing right now, and we're not here to argue with these points of the author, but we're here to explain what he's saying. What he's giving to you right now is giving you the chronological background. Al-Ramahurmazi rahimahullah died 360. Then the Hakim came less than 50 years after his death, and he wrote a book. Alright? And he's mentioning the name of the author, the generation or the century in which he lived, and he's also mentioning the things that were wrong with their books, or the things that were lacking, the things that remained from their books. In other words, he was a pioneer, he did it in this year, he wrote this book, but he left out, or he missed out on that, and he didn't mention this, and so on and so forth. And as the author rahimahullah said, any pioneer or trailblazer, this is going to be the case. The person who invented the airplane, the person who had the first successful flight, of course there's going to be things that are going to be left out. And it's not going to be a jet. It's not going to be an airplane with this type of luxury seating and this, etc. It's going to be a basic thing that flies. And then those who come after him, they're going to eat and they're going to benefit from his table spread. Okay? And they're going to refine, they're going to finely detail, they're going to constantly mold and craft and polish the original thing that was made and forged. Hey, inshallah. And hopefully that's clear to everyone. The next book that the author rahimahullah mentions is Al-Mustakhraj ala Ma'rifati ulum al-Hadith. صنفه أبو نعيم أحمد بن عبد الله الأصبهاني المتوفى سنة 430 للهجرة. استدرك في على الحاكم ما فاته في كتابه معرفة علوم الحديث من قواعد هذا الفن أو من قواعد هذا الفن، لكنه ترك أشياء يمكن للمتعقب أن يستدركها عليه أيضا. Book number 3 is a book called Al-Mustakhraj. Al-Mustakhraj ala Ma'rifati ulum al-Hadith. This book, Al-Mustakhraj, was written by Abu Nu'aym. Ahmed, the son of Abdullah, al-Asbihani or al-Asbahani, which is also from those Near Eastern regions in the general broad lands of Persia. And of course, there are different regions and different sectors. What is known today as Iran, what is known today as Afghanistan, what is known today as Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and these different places, Tajikistan, so on and so forth, White Russia, so on and so forth. Okay, many of these regions back then had broad terms or broad regions. There was Khorasan, there was Naysabur, there was Bukhara, etc. This author, Al-Asbahani, rahimahullah, he died in the year 430 of the Hijrah. So we see he died what? About maybe a little over, or approximately 25 years after Hakim. He wrote a book called Al-Mustakhraj. And Al-Mustakhraj, in brief, is a book of hadith that you write on top of or beyond or behind an original book of hadith. There's an author who mentions narrations with his chain, with his isnad, going back to the one who said that narration, hadith, I thought of a companion, and he comes up behind him and he collects the same narration, whether it's a hadith of the Prophet, an athar of a companion, an athar of one of the tabi'een, and he mentions, I said, the same narration, but he has a different isnad. It's like we're both going to New Jersey. Let's say we're going to East Orange, New Jersey. You live in Philadelphia, and I live in New York City. Or to make it even easier, I live in Queens, New York City, and this brother lives in the Bronx. We're both going to the same destination. However, we take what? Different roads. However, no matter how different our roads may be and are, there's going to be a general meeting place. So if I'm driving and he's driving, we may not take the initial roads because I'm in a different borough, which is considered a different city in New York City, as if it's a different city, the Queens and the Bronx. But there's going to be a point in which we generally what? Meet up. Half an hour later, but we're going to what? Generally meet up in a meeting place, and we're going to be on the same road to East Orange. So this is the concept of the Mustakhraj, is that if Imam Al-Hakim, rahimahullah, if he has 3 or 4 people between him and the Prophet, or him and this, 3 people between him and Imam Ahmed, for example, then Al-Asbihani is going to come, and he's going to have the same amount of people, but it's going to be different. It's going to be what? Different. Or you maybe have just 2 people, or 3 people. So this is the general brief concept of Al-Mustakhraj. This is going to be explained later on in detail. So what he did was, he took Hakim's book and he revamped it, and he made a Mustakhraj of it. So that's the name and title of his book. So all of the things that Hakim spoke on Sahih, on Da'if, on Shadh, on the virtue of the people of Hadith, etc., is all in Asbahani's book, but it's a different revamped asanid. Different revamped asanid in his book, Al-Mustakhraj. And the author says there's also many things that he left out in his book, and many things that he allowed people to come behind after him and criticize him and critique him for. So therefore, the book of Al-Hakim, rahimahullah, we don't have the time, nor are we on the level of discussing it in detail. But in brief, Al-Hakim, he mentioned many points of the hadith culture and the sciences of hadith, and many of the different terminologies. And one of the most beneficial of the things that Al-Hakim mentioned was the concept of the fuqaha of the muhaddithin. The fuqaha of the muhaddithin. How many of those great ulama in the past were great scholars of fiqh as well. He spoke about that in detail. Khayr, inshallah. Number 4. He says, Al-Kifayah of Al-Riwayah. صنفه أبو بكر أحمد بن علي بن ثابت الخطيب البغدادي المشهور المتوفى سنة 463 للهجرة، وكتاب حافل بتحليل مسائل هذا الفن وبيان قواعد الرواية، ويعتبر من أجل مصادر هذا العلم. The 4th work is a book called Al-Kifayah. It's called Al-Kifayah في علم الرواية. Al-Kifayah is the word that you want to memorize and focus on. Al-Kifayah. This work, and Kifayah means sufficiency, pertaining to the science of al-riwayah, the science of narration. It was authored by Abu Bakr Ahmed, the son of Ali, the son of Thabit, who is commonly known as Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi. Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi. The well-known scholar in Baghdad is from Iraq, or is in Iraq. Baghdad is was a major city of the world, of civilization, from the times of the ancient Sumerians, okay, to the time of the Muslims in the era of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu and Uthman and Ali, okay, along the Salaf al-Salih that came after the Sahaba, all the way up until the time of Ahmed and Ibn Ma'in and Ali ibn al-Madini, to when Al-Bukhari came and went to Baghdad, all right, up until the time of the unfortunate raiding and plundering of the Mongols, and after that the Ottoman Empire. Up until this day, the city of Baghdad is considered to be a major, one of the most important cities in the world. So this man, Khatib rahimahullah, was from that grand center called Baghdad. He died in the year 463. So now we have 33 years after Al-Asbahani died. Khatib al-Baghdadi, he came and he passed away in that year. The author says this book is considered to be a major leap, a groundbreaking work, and a huge comprehensive book that is, he says, is swollen with all of the different affairs and issues of this science. And he also says tahir, is that his book was finely tuned, it was refined, all right? It was a synthetic process that was given to the raw crude oil that was found in many of the previous books. His book synthesized and it made that raw crude oil into something else, into petroleum, to gasoline, to kerosene, etc. All right, he processed a lot of the pieces of information. He spoke on the different masail, and he also spoke on, he says, the qawaid, the fundaments and the rules, the basic precepts of narrating hadith, of an acceptable narrator and acceptable hadith, of the different issues, the ins and outs. And he says this book is considered to be from the best works on the subject. And we do not have enough time to discuss that, because Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi rahimahullah, who he was, where he came from, how he lived, what he did, that's a series of lectures in itself, without any exaggeration. The fifth book, the author says, Al-Jami' li-Akhlaq al-Rawi wa Adab al-Sami', صنفه الخطيب البغدادي أيضا، وكتاب يبحث في آداب الرواية كما هو واضح من تسميته، وفريد في بابه، قيم في أبحاثه ومحتوياته، وقل من فنون علوم المصطلح إلا وصنف الخطيب فيه كتابا مفردا، فكان كما قال الحافظ أبو بكر بن نقطة، كل من أنصف علم أن المحدثين بعد الخطيب عيال على كتبه. The fifth book is also a book written by Khatib al-Baghdadi, which is called Al-Jami' لأخلاق الراوي وآداب السامع. It's called Al-Jami', which means it is a comprehensive work on the etiquettes and the do's and the don'ts on the rawi, the narrator, and the sami', the listener. And what's meant by this book is Khatib, he talks about how to seek hadith, how to travel, to study, to learn, to write down, to memorize, to review your notes, how to seek hadith, how to teach hadith, how to dress. What is the student of hadith? What should he dress like? What should he eat? What should he drink? How should he sleep? Should he get married first? Or should he go seek knowledge and then get married? He spoke on all of these different interesting topics in detail with the chains of narrations. He quotes hadith from the Prophet. He quotes narration from the Sahaba. He quotes narrations from their followers and their disciples. And this is a magnificent, huge work called Al-Jami'. It's in 2 volumes today with the modern day annotation and editing of the manuscript. He says, the author rahimahullah, this book is talking about the etiquettes of seeking hadith, as is clear from the title. And he says, huwa faridun, it is a unique work, and it is precious. He says it's immeasurable worth to the hadith disciple. He then goes on speaking about Khatib al-Baghdadi by saying, there isn't a science or branch or genre of the sciences of hadith except that Khatib wrote a book on it, except he wrote his own specific separate book. And it's very similar to Ali ibn al-Madini rahimahullah, as we mentioned before. Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi rahimahullah is just like one of the scholars said, Abu Bakr ibn Nuqta was his name. He says, those who are just and impartial know that all of the scholars of hadith are indebted to him. The literal translation is, he says, Iyadun. He says what? They're his children. They're the children of his books. They're the graduates of his institute, of his university, his college. So what's meant here is that the service that he did for the sciences of hadith, he says, you can't count. It's immeasurable. What he did, what he sacrificed, what he put forth. And everyone who came after him, one way or another, benefited from him and ate from his luscious table spread. The sixth book, the author says, Al-Ilma إلى معرفة أصول الرواية وتقييد السماع. صنفه القاضي عياض بن موسى اليحسبي المتوفى سنة 544 للهجرة، وهو كتاب غير شامل لجميع أبحاث المصطلح، بل هو مقصور على ما يتعلق بكيفية التحمل والأداء وما يتفرع عنها، لكنه جيد في بابه حسن التنسيق والترتيب. The sixth book is a book called Al-Ilma. Called what? Al-Ilma, which is linguistically translated to mean something that is shining. Yani it's shining. He says here concerning the usul of the riwayah and the rules and restrictions of listening and hearing. This book was written by Al-Qadi, a man who was a judge, whose name is Iyad, who's commonly known or referred to as Qadi Iyad. Those who read the commentary of Sahih Muslim by Imam Nawawi, he's going to find his name all of the time, because he himself wrote a book and commenting on the Sahih of Imam Muslim and other works. His name was Qadi Iyad, the son of Musa al-Yahsubi, who died in the year 544 of the Hijrah. He died in the year what? 544 of the Hijrah. And this man was considered to be from what we will call Al-Maghrib al-Arabi, or the Arabian West. The Arabian West. Whether it is considered to be Spain, Portugal, Andalusia, North Africa, etc. He died in the year 544. In his book, the author says it didn't mention all of the concepts nor all of the fields of Al-Mustakhraj. Rather, it only pertains to how to listen, how to hear, memorize, and how to pass and how to spread, and some of the sub-branches of that. However, it is a good book, he says, and it was put together and it was organized pretty good, pretty well organized. Number 7, ما لا يسأل المحدث جهله. صنفه أبو حفص عمر بن عبد المجيد الميانجي المتوفى سنة 580 للهجرة، وجزء صغير ليس فيه كبير فائدة. The 7th hadith is called ما لا يسع المحدث جهله, is that which the muhaddith, the hadith scholar, cannot be ignorant of. That which is indispensable for the hadith scholar. And this book was written by a scholar whose name, is what? Abu Hafs Umar ibn Abdul Majid al-Mayaniji, who died in the year 580. About 40 years after Qadi Iyad. And he says a very small book, very simple book. It isn't a book that is of tremendous benefit. That's what the author says. And that's a long issue in itself. Book number 8, he says here, علوم الحديث. صنفه أبو عمرو عثمان بن عبد الرحمن الشهرزوري المشهور بن الصلاح المتوفى سنة 643 للهجرة، وكتاب هذا مشهور بين الناس بمقدمة ابن صلاح، ومن أجود الكتب في المصطلح. جمع فيه مؤلفه ما تفرق في غيره من كتب الخطيب وما تقدم، فكان كتابا حافلا بالفوائد، لكنه لم يرتب على الوضع المناسب، لأنه أملاه شيئا فشيئا. ومع هذا عمدة من جاء بعده من العلماء، فكم من مختصر له وناظم ومعارض له ومنتصر. The 8th work is a work called علوم الحديث, Sciences of Hadith. علوم الحديث. And this book was written by a scholar whose name was Abu Amr. And as you can pay close attention to, brothers and sisters, my dear disciples and disciples, is that you can see how all of these scholars are known and famous by their kunya. And they all had a kunya. And we know that the kunya is a means of honoring your brother or honoring your sister in Islam. So it has nothing to do with our book or our books, our lesson, but it's a benefit for us as Muslims. Alright? Is that, do you have a kunya? Have you taken a kunya? And do you refer to your brother or your sister with a what? With a kunya. A kunya is a means of respect. It's a means of affection. It's a means of honoring. And among many people overseas, not just in the lands of the Muslims, not just in the Middle East, even in the Far East, calling someone by their first name is considered to be disrespectful, or it's considered to be rude. If it isn't rude and disrespectful, it's at least considered to be cold. It's not friendly and kind and soft, calling a man by his first name. Khayr, inshallah, we mentioned that before. His kunya was Abu Amr. His first name was Uthman, the son of Abdurrahman, and he's well known as Al-Shahrazuri. And he is even more well known by the short title of Ibn Salah. Ibn Salah. And Al-Shahrazuri, okay, moving on. He died in the year 643. He died in the year what? 643. This man, he is said that he lived in Damascus, all right, in Syria, and perhaps some of his roots go back to those of Persian descent. He says here, his book is well known among the people as the Muqaddimah of Ibn Salah. And this is a major leap also. This is his name, Ibn Salah. If the only thing you can remember is Ibn Salah, and the only thing you can remember is the Muqaddimah or the book of Ibn Salah, it is considered very, very important on the timeline of Hadith. Very important, something that you want to memorize. He says it's one of the best books that are written on Al-Mustakhraj. And the author, rahimahullah, he collected and put together that which is split up and separated in the various books of Khatib and the books of those who came before him. So therefore, his book is full of fawaid, full of benefits. However, the flaw with his book is that he lacked the perfect organization and arrangement, the topical categorization of the book. He says there's some flaws and some loopholes and some chips in the frame of the book regarding that concept. He says here, and the reason behind this is because he dictated the book to his students. And he didn't just sit down and write the book. Rather, he wrote it in parts, in pieces. He gave it to them from time to time. Despite that, this book is considered to be, he says, the umdah. It's considered to be the foundation of all of those ulama who came after him. Of all of the ulama who came after him. He then says how many people summarized his book. How many people put his book into, he says, another made a poem out of it. How many people rejected what he said and criticized and critiqued him, and how many people agreed with him and supported his view. So the author is telling you that this book here of this man, Ibn Salah, is considered to be one of the biggest, broadest milestones on the path. One of the biggest road signs on the path of Hadith chronology. The chronological order is this book of Ibn Salah. So if you want to look at a leap, not a stride, but an actual leap, is the book of Ibn Salah. Hadith or book number 9, the author says, Al-Taqrib wa-Taysir li-Ma'rifati Sunan al-Bashir al-Nadir. In that book of Ibn Salah is a very long topic in itself, and it needs a set of lectures on it just by itself on the concept of the book. Book number 9 is called Al-Taqrib wa-Taysir li-Ma'rifati Sunan al-Bashir al-Nadir. صنفه محي الدين يحيى بن شرف النووي المتوفى سنة 676 للهجرة. وكتاب هذا اختصار كتاب علوم الحديث لابن الصلاح، وكتاب جيد ملغى العبارة أحيانا. The 9th book is a book called Al-Taqrib wa-Taysir, which means facilitation and ease. Facilitation and ease, and getting to know the sunan of the bearer of glad tidings and the warner. This is a book that was written by Muhyiddin Yahya ibn Sharaf al-Nawawi, rahimahullah, Imam Nawawi. And he died in the year 676 of the Hijrah. His book in reality is nothing but a summary of Ibn Salah's book. And he says from the flaws of this book is that sometimes some of the wordings, some of what he says is a bit difficult to understand. Hadith number 10, book number 10. He says, Tadrib al-Rawi fi Sharhi Taqrib al-Nawawi. صنفه جلال الدين عبد الرحمن بن أبي بكر السيوطي المتوفى سنة 911 للهجرة، وشرح لكتاب تقريب النووي كما هو واضح من اسمه، جمع فيه مؤلفه من الفوائد الشيء الكثير. The 10th book is a book called Tadrib al-Rawi, which means training the narrator and explaining the Taqrib of Nawawi. And you clearly see how most of these books rhyme. Al-Kifayah, Taqrib, they may have a rhyming style to them. This book was written by Jalaluddin Abdurrahman ibn Abi Bakr as-Suyuti, the great scholar of Egypt, who died in the year 911. So we see this is a couple hundred years now between Suyuti in between Nawawi that came from Syria. A huge gap between those two ulama, according to what the author mentioned. There were other books that were not just other, there were many books, all right, that were written in that gap or that time period. However, this is what the author mentioned. So this book is an explanation of the previous book of Nawawi. And before we move on, we clearly see how the ulama benefit from each other, teach each other, learn from each other. How when one book is made, it doesn't always have to be a reinvention of the will again. However, the original will or the concept of the will is now what, as we previously said, what is now refined? It is now perfected. The will was perfected. The original prototype is now perfected. And we branch off and we specialize in this and that and detour and contour and make different types of wills, different sizes of wills, different purposes of the will. Everybody understand this? Wills for cars, for trucks, etc. Different types of wills. So you don't always have to reinvent the will. The idea is there. The main piece of information is there. Now you just have to break it down, explain, analyze, etc. He says there are many different benefits that's contained in this book. The book number 11, he says, نظم الدرر في علم الأثر صنفها زين الدين عبد الرحيم بن الحسين العراقي المتوفى سنة 806 للهجرة ومشهور باسم ألفية العراقي. نظم فيها علوم الحديث لابن الصلاح وزاد عليه، وهي جيدة غزيرة الفوائد وعليها شروح متعددة منها شرحان للمؤلف نفسه. The next book is called نظم الدرر في علم الأثر, which means نظم الدرر. He's talking about pearls, and these pearls being looked after and taken care of and set up, and explaining the ilm of athar, the ilm of athar. This book is written by Zainuddin. And before we move on, you can clearly see the different styles of the Islamic system of naming. And in the early generations, the ulama were known or given kuna. They had kunyas, and that's what they were known by. In the 3rd century, 4th century, 5th century, those different centuries, you had different gaps and reaches. And we can clearly see here, An-Nawawi rahimahullah, who died in the 7th century, Suyuti died 911, and then the author mentions Iraqi died in the 9th century. Okay, so he's jumping. Perhaps he should have put Iraqi before Suyuti, because he died before him, over 100 years before him. However, this is what the author said, that's how he did it. Okay, we're not here to, that's his book, he can write it how he wants to write it. But it would have been more proper and scientific to do the opposite of what we just said. So therefore, we see here that Suyuti, he didn't refer to him with his kunya. Nor did he refer to Nawawi by his kunya. Nor did he refer to Iraqi by his kunya. Even though they had kunya. However, they were more commonly known by the laqab. Muhyiddin. Alright? Zainuddin. Shamsuddin. Nasiruddin. Etc. And this is a concept that became very widespread among many Muslims in the later generations. The kunya was less used and the laqab was more used, and they started getting these type of names. Even to this day, okay, we have these different alqab, and it's not saying it's haram. We don't believe that it's haram to have these names, alright? Even though Nawawi disliked people calling him that, Muhyiddin. I'm not the reviver of the religion, but that's the name that they gave him, okay? And that was from his humility and his humbleness, alright? And the concept of giving your child this type of laqab, perhaps it'll be an inspiration to them. You call him Shamsuddin. You know what your name means, son? You're like the sun. You shine, huh? That's why I gave you the name, because you shine. You shine like the sun, and your deen has to shine, etc. So the point I'm trying to get to is the usage of the kunya became less and less, and the usage of the nickname became more and more. Unfortunately, even to this day, we don't get into other issues of politics and how the Muslims were colonized and taken over, and many of the traditional Islamic customs. Even some of the Arab customs that were close to Islam and of the Sunnah were done away with. They were done away with and were replaced with other things, whether the European customs, etc. Okay? The concept of is that they started calling people with these alqab, these laqabs. And what name you can and cannot have, what name you shouldn't have, that's a topic in the lecture in itself that we're not here to discuss. So his laqab was Zainuddin, which means beauty of the religion, adornment of the deen. And his name was Abdul Rahim, the son of Al-Hussein, who was well known as Al-Iraqi, because he came from Iraq. He died in the year 806. And his book, the famous title is called Al-Kifayah of Al-Iraqi, which is basically a poem that has over 1,000 lines. Over 1,000 lines in it. He made the book of Ibn Salah into poetry. Alright? Once again, he's benefiting what? From the previous books. He's making a different addition or variation to the original will. This book, he put Ibn Salah's book into poetry form, and he put extra things in it as well. And it is an excellent book, full of fawaid, and there's several people who explained this book. The author himself, rahimahullah, he explained it twice. Book number 12, فتح المغيث في شرح ألفية الحديث، صنفه محمد بن عبد الرحمن السخاوي المتوفى سنة 902 للهجرة، وشرح على ألفية العراقي، وهو من أوفى شروح الألفية وأجودها. Book number 12 was a book called فتح المغيث, in explaining the Alfiyah of Hadith. فتح المغيث, the triumph and the support, the divine support of the one who gives ghaith, of the reliever, and the one who sends down rain, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And explaining the Alfiyah of Al-Hadith of Al-Iraqi. This book was written by Muhammad ibn Abdurrahman as-Sakhawi, who died in the year 902 of the Hijrah. And this is an explanation of the previous book. It's an explanation of the Alfiyah of Al-Iraqi, and this is from the most expansive and beneficial explanations of that book. Book number 13, he says, نخبة الفكر في مصطلح أهل الأثر، صنفه الحافظ بن حجر العسقلاني المتوفى سنة 852 للهجرة، وجزء صغير مختصر جدا، لكنه من أنفع المختصرات وأجودها ترتيبا، ابتكر فيه مؤلفه طريقة في الترتيب والتقسيم لم يسبق إليها، وقد شرحه مؤلفه بشرح سماه نسخة النظر كما شرحه غيره. Book number 13, the author says, it's called نخبة الفكر في مصطلح أهل الأثر. And we began an explanation on that book, alhamdulillah. So we're not going to waste any more time. I'm not saying it's a waste of time, but we're tight on time now in explaining the concept of the book in our own words. We'll just make sure what the author says. This book was written by Hafiz bin Hajar al-Asqalani, who died in the year 852 of the Hijrah. It's a very small, simple manual. However, it's from the most beneficial small manuals. And it's from the most, or the best organized manuals. The author, rahimahullah, he made a new way of speaking on Mustalah al-Hadith, a new way of arranging the different points, in which was totally revolutionary. No one did it before him like this. And he explained it himself in a book called Nuzhat al-Nadhar, and many of the ulama who came after him explained that book as well. The author, once again, perhaps he should have mentioned the book of Ibn Hajar before the book of As-Sakhawi and Al-Suyuti. Whereas he died in the 9th century. Suyuti died in the beginning of the 10th century. Sakhawi died like this. In other words, we should stick to the chronological order of the deaths. Either you want to organize the names of someone by the fame, the significance, or their dates in which they were born and which they died. Khairan, inshallah. Many of the ulama, not many, but most, 9 out of 10 people who came after Ibn Hajar, they depended upon this book here. Nusrat al-Nadhar and Nukhbat al-Fikr. We don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole right now, but 9 out of 10 people, they depended upon what he wrote. They explained it, they expounded upon it. 9 out of 10 books that are in English and available in English is based off of that. Alright? Is that good? Is that bad? Correct? Incorrect? That's not what we're here to talk about. Book number 14, the author says, Al-Manzumah al-Bayquniyya, صنفها عمر بن محمد البيقوني المتوفى سنة. He says here, the next book is called Al-Manzumah al-Bayquniyya. Alhamdulillah, we've explained that book completely on our channel. The Bayquni poem, which was written by Umar ibn Muhammad al-Bayquni, rahimahullah. And he died in the year 1080 of the Hijrah. ومن المنظومات المختصرة إذ لا تتجاوز 34 بيتا. And it is a very small summarized book, no more than 34 lines. وتعتبر من المختصرات النافعة المشهورة وعليها شروح متعددة. And it is considered to be a very beneficial, famous work which has many explanations. The 15th book and the last book that the author mentioned says قواعد التحديث, a book called Rules of Narrating. صنفه محمد جمال الدين القاسمي. It's a book written by Muhammad Jamal al-Din al-Qasimi, who died in the year 1332 Hijrah. وكتاب محرر مفيد. وهناك مصنفات أخرى كثيرة يطول ذكرها، اختصرت على ذكر المشهور منها، فجزا الله الجميع عنا وعن المسلمين خير الجزاء. The next book, he says, written by Al-Qasimi, who died in the year 1332. 1332. And it is a book which is very beneficial, very well put together. And he says, and there are many, many other books which we don't have enough time to mention. I only sufficed myself with mentioning the most famous of them. May Allah reward all of those Muslim scholars well on our behalf and on behalf of the Muslims. This is the author. The author mentioned 15 books which he considers to be from the most famous and from the most beneficial of those works. Hopefully, in our next session, we will go on to mentioning, he says, ta'rifatun awwaliyatun, introductory terms and introductory definitions before we get into the actual introduction. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by His blessed, beautiful names and attributes, we ask to benefit us and to make us of those who hear, who listen, and who learn, and to make us true students and adherents of the Sunnah and true disciples of Hadith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.